Hello, Rob McNeilly here. I wanted to say some things about the issue of dealing with addictions. And all too often, addictions are thought of as being a permanent issue for someone, and that all that they can do is manage it and hope that they can somehow uh, uh, manage to avoid the kind of pull to back to whatever the addiction is, whether it's a drug or a behaviour or whatever. And we can see that when someone is addicted to something, it can become like an obsession. Can become some kind of feeling of compulsion. And also, often when we see uh, the history of someone who's addicted, they've had some trauma. So are we dealing with an addiction, or are we dealing with OCD, or are we dealing with PTSD? I mean, once we start labelling, everything gets muddled. So when we stop and pay attention respectfully to this person, what's happening for this person in their situation, then some possibilities appear. And I'm absolutely insist that, and through my own personal experience in the decades of working with people, that a cure is possible, that a complete resolution and healing is possible. It doesn't have to be just managed. I've noticed that when there is a problem with addiction, there's often a huge mood of resignation, like it's always been like this, and every time I manage to give it up, I go back to it. So what's the point? Why bother? Might as well just give in. Or I'll make some kind of attempt, but already I know it's not going to work. So one of the contributions that we can offer someone is our mood of expectancy. It's been like this, yes. And to validate the legitimacy of their suffering and how it's been. Yes, it has been awful. It has been troublesome. It has been agonising. It has seemed impossible. Yes, that's how it has been. And it doesn't have to be that way. Learning is possible. Resolution is possible. So when we can maintain our mood of expectancy, the client can help to catch, we can help the client to catch our mood of expectancy, and that inoculates us against picking up the client's mode of resignation. So we think, oh, this is going to be too difficult, and what's the point? Also, often with addiction, there's a lot of pretense, a lot of sliding, slithery, insincere behaviour. And so it's so important that we keep ourselves and the relationship real. Now, one of the ways of doing that, again, is to validate the suffering of this person. People who are addicted, they're involved in some kind of recurrent, persistent civil war. It must be absolutely agonising. And to have that validated and legitimised provides a beautiful, solid ground for the expectancy, for the change, for the learning to proceed from. And like with any situation, it's so helpful to find out from each individual, how come this addiction is a problem to you? And some people will say, it's my health, my marriage, my work, my future. It's going to be different for different people. And when we find out exactly what the problem is for this person, then we can find out what's missing for them and help them to connect with that. If it's looking after their family, we can ask them to imagine time has passed and they're looking after their family and things are how they want. And when they look back, was it worth it? There were some difficulties. Are they glad they made the change? Are they glad they responded to the challenge? And so on. So whatever it is that's missing, when we find that out, that is going to make a huge difference to the effectiveness of our work and the results that we can help the client to reach. I've also found it very helpful at times, and I want to offer this as just another option. I'm not recommending it, but as another option, to find out what the addiction is doing for someone. Sometimes, someone might, for example, be addicted to heroin, and you say, so what is this doing for you? And very often someone will kind of reflect for a moment because they've never thought of it being a benefit. It's almost like it's a problem, it's the enemy. But when we think that what's it trying to do to help you, then someone might say it helps relieve my suffering, my pain. And heroin is a wonderful pain relief. So if we know that the benefit that someone is getting is pain relief, then that lets us know what's missing and how else we might be able to help them to relieve their pain, physical pain, emotional pain, or whatever it might be. It can be so different for different people. And also, it's possible to ask someone to remember a drug experience, for example, and to really get into the experience of remembering it. So then they can have the experience of the drug, for example, without having to have the drug. I remember a teenager telling me that he was spending too much money on marijuana and wondered whether hypnosis might help him. So I asked him, when you've had a good joint, a really good stuff, and you can feel it starting to kick in, what do you notice? How do you know that this is happening? And he sat back in the chair, his eyes glazed over, his face relaxed, and his eyes, the whites of his eyes started to turn red. So in the memory of being stoned, he had the full physiological body memories of the drug without having to have the drug. Saved him a lot of money. So I just wanted to mention these possibilities. In particular, instead of treating an addiction, to focus on how we can be with this person. Find out what the problem is for this person, what's missing for this person, what the addiction is doing for this person. That helps to keep us on track so that the relationship is solid, is real, is respectful, and is open then to some possibilities for future healing. So there's some ideas, and my invitation is to play with them, see what happens when you add some of them, all of them, this, that, the other. Just play with that, and then I'd love to hear from you about what you found helpful. So thanks for your interest, and thanks for watching this.